Get this party started.
Let's do it.
All right. It's the High Five, baby. All right. So this is the inaugural edition of the High Five. And Jeff, I see that you have that fire, the eternal flame behind you there. I thought you might need a firefighter to put some fire out. Woo, woo, woo. You got a fire alarm? You got a 5-alarm fire, baby.
I love it. I did not know what you were going to get, so that was a good prop.
You got a 5-alarmer there, brother. You need some help.
I feel underdressed now, though. You came to the party hot.
You don't need to. You don't need to dress. You're fine just the way you are. I'm repping the brand today, the Digital Hyve.
Like it.
You know, this is a family show, so I can't be doing that. So
Good job.
It's a family show. Uh-huh. Hey, Jeff. So first of all, this is so much fun that we finally get to do this because I've wanted to do this with you for so long. So super cool. You did something that I think surprised a lot of people. You had an opportunity that I think a lot of business owners in New York State right now were pretty envious of. You had the time and attention of New York State lawmakers. Like, they were like this, okay? How did you get chosen to speak before lawmakers about, COVID-19 and its effect on small businesses? How did you even get selected?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine reach out who's close with New York State Assemblyman Al Sturpey, and I've met Al on a number of occasions. Great guy, and his team reached out to my friend to ask if I would be interested in chatting with both the Assembly, New York State Assembly, and the New York State Senate. It was the first ever virtual Assembly and Senate meeting that they've ever done, so it was quite interesting, and. One of the biggest concerns that I had was, what do I wear to a virtualized assembly? Like, do I wear a suit? Because if I went to Albany, I would probably have to wear a suit.
I have never seen you. I don't think I've ever seen you in a suit. Maybe. And so you wore like a button down, so that was like good.
Yes, I wore a button down shirt. I did. Yeah, I just threw it on.
Better have your responses. Did you know the questions, or did you know like what you were gonna say? Did you write it down? I mean, how did you prepare?
Yeah, they asked me to do a testimony. So it was a 5-minute testimony. And then I was mostly focused on that 5-minute testimony piece to make sure that I was really covering everything that I want to do. Because at the end of the day, I wasn't just talking about Digital Hyve. I was not talking about Jeff Knaus. I was trying to represent all small businesses in New York State. And that's quite I took that responsibility very seriously. So I wanted to make sure that, I covered the ground. I actually reached out to a lot of my friends that own businesses, asked them some of their challenges, some of the things they're thinking about, tried to gather as much information as possible so that I had a wider perspective than just, what Digital Hyve is concerned with.
So can I ask you about that? I was kind of taken aback by, and this is not just flattery. Okay. This is like for real. This is real talk. If I had that time to get the ear and the time of those lawmakers, I wouldn't necessarily, I don't know if I would have been like, well, you know what, let me mention other local businesses. Like that, you mentioned them by name. Why did you do that? And why was that important to you to make sure that they heard the names of some of these other small businesses, in upstate and central New York?
I really wanted to emphasize there's a lot of great things happening in upstate New York, especially in the tech and digital space. And I felt that the best way to do that, not only to give a little props to my friends and people that are running amazing companies and, hiring amazing teams and people, not only to just like shout them out, but also to really showcase that look at Digital Hyve isn't an anomaly. Like, we've grown tremendously over the past 5.5, 6 years that we've been in business. But it isn't just us. I mean, there's people raising millions of dollars in venture capital funding that traditionally would go to major cities, and they're coming right here to Syracuse or Rochester. Mm-hmm. There are people that are scaling their operations and their people and their office spaces and contributing to the downtown economies. And there's just so much good that's happening that I wanted to make sure that, people really understood that I'm not representing just one company or one person's idea. I'm representing a whole industry that's really, I believe, one of the main drivers of the success of the renaissance of downtowns in upstate New York, right? For so long, downtown Rochester, downtown Syracuse, downtown Albany, Buffalo, it was just kind of a more desolate place that people were scared to come in from the suburbs to visit. And
Yeah.
now there's restaurants that are thriving. The loft spaces and the really cool apartment spaces, you can't keep them empty. I mean, the occupancy rates in Syracuse alone, I think, is at 98% for apartments downtown. So I think it's just a tremendous shift in the last decade or couple decades. And I think a big part of that are people that are really participating in the new digital economy. So I wanted to ensure that, people really saw that some of these companies are real companies and they're doing amazing things. And hopefully, the legislatures that were listening, went and checked out some of the companies that I mentioned, because they'll see some really good stories there.
You had some suggestions for lawmakers. You were like, look, if I've got you here and I'm telling you what I'm telling you, this is what I want you to know. Please keep in mind these things, right? When it comes to like, payroll protection and all that other stuff, right? I mean, you talked about that. You were like, listen, please make sure you do these things. Pick like one of them. What was the biggest one that you told them, the biggest suggestion or thing that you wanted them to really take away from your time with them?
Yeah, I think for the PPP, that is a forgivable. It's a loan that, if you keep on your employees and you use that towards the approved expenses for your business, that a portion of that can become forgivable.
Right.
And one of the largest things that I urged during my time was to ensure that, hopefully they will loosen the guidelines to make as much of it as possible to be forgiven. Make it as easy as possible for businesses that are doing the right things, that are keeping their staff employed, that are, because it's really, really hard right now because of COVID. So there's some real challenges in the way that the bill was written for companies to really make a lot of that forgiven. And if it turns into a loan, even though it's at 1%, so the interest rate is really low, there's a 2-year repayment window.
Right.
And yeah, in 24 months, the monthly payment on that is huge.
Yeah.
For small businesses. And so to have to repay a significant portion of that back, essentially you're going to have to repay it back by not using that money and just giving it back, which will essentially have done nothing. And so I really was urging them to loosen the guidelines in the forgiveness element of PPP, as well as, if for whatever is not forgivable, to increase the amount of time that the loan can be amortized so that it creates lower monthly payments for businesses, or else there's just no way they're going to be able to use that money and repay it. It's going to be an either or thing.
Right. It'll end up hurting them instead of being like, yeah, obviously. All right. First of all, you've got to tell the wildlife in your backyard to just bring it down a notch. I know you living in like, the woods somewhere, and like I'm down with that, but like you need to, the wildlife got to keep it down, because I'm just saying they're a little rude.
We have 8 or 9 deer that live in the backyard that are just like this cute little family of deer. We have a family of 5 foxes that live back here. We have birds and woodchucks and everything galore.
They're not paying any rent.
I mean, the reality is this is like a soundtrack, I'm playing the music of life right now.
With the sound of Jeff's backyard. Yeah, because seriously, they're not paying rent. They're living all up in your backyard, squatting, they're squatters. I'm just saying. So Jeff, I gotta ask you, because if the timing of all of this is so bizarre to me, right? Like bizarre. If you look back and you look back at all the decisions you've made for your business, not knowing that a worldwide pandemic was going to bring the world to its knees, right? Like you made all these decisions, made all these plans. Everyone did, right? You did, I did, and it's like, and then for the business aspect, I know you were sweating it hard in those first few weeks. I'm not even, and that's like an understatement. All right. What is your best advice for these business owners that, they're listening to this and they're like, all right, but some of New York State is open in terms of like, the pause has been a little relaxed, right? And certain businesses can get back to business. What's your advice to them? And maybe they're still sweating. Maybe they had to lay off some of their staff. They had to do furloughs. What's your best advice for them? Because they're watching this going, I don't know, right? Like what's it going to be like once the world reopens, if it does in its entirety, right? I mean, there's still going to be a lot of rules about who can do what, where, what our office is going to be like. What's your best advice to business owners?
Yeah, no doubt. I think the thing that helps me the most, because you're right, in the beginning it was sweat city. I mean, I was not in a good spot from a perspective of like, I was nervous for my staff, I was nervous for the business, I was nervous for my clients. It was just not a good situation for anyone. And so, because there was so much unknown, and anytime you live in the unknown, it's hard, because knowledge is power. Now, knowledge is the thing that can give you confidence to say, all right, I can make decisions based on these facts and this, this information that I have. And when there's so little information out there and things are moving so quickly, it's just, you feel a little bit powerless, right? And so now that things have settled down, I think the things that are, there's two main things that are helping me. One is I'm always been very good at allowing the uncontrollables to just be there, to exist. I can't control that that I live on Earth and there's gravity, so I can't fly. Can't control that, so I'm not going to worry about it, right?
Yeah.
But what I can control, I do my best at. And so controlling the controllables allows you to have a sense of regaining some of that power, understanding that there is federal funding out there, and you may not be able to control the process. You may have applied and you didn't receive it in the first round, or maybe the second round even, or there's things out of your control. But taking the very effort to go after some of these opportunities, thinking about opportunities for your business to pivot, getting out in front of, as things change and phase 1 and phase 2 of New York State Forward starts to come through, learning what regulations really mean and how that affects your business and how it affects the businesses that you rely on for revenue. Just that like idea of learning and being in the know, I feel like gives me so much more comfort. Even if there are things that I don't like, it makes me comfortable and feel better that at least I know them now, right? Like I know what to expect within the next couple weeks in some respects, right? So controlling the controllables and allowing the uncontrollables to just exist, and for me to exist alongside of them, helps me feel better about it. And the other piece of it is just communication. I feel like over communicating during this time is one of the best things you can do. As you know, Norma, I send out weekly emails. We've tried to have, staff meetings. I try to check in with as many people as possible, as often as I can. Our HR team has been amazing, and as well as communicating with clients. I randomly call clients or community partners or whoever. I'll send them a note, I'll send them an email, just to check in to see how they're doing. Communication has been key in helping me feel better about this whole thing. And then one last thing that I just thought of is offering value. I feel like finding people that are understanding that there are people, no matter what your situation is, there are people that are struggling more than you right now. I feel like that gives me a level of comfort in the fact that I might be able to do something to help those people. So right now, hunger has never been a bigger need than it is right now. There's so many people that are losing their jobs. There's so many people that are food insecure. And so thinking of ways to get involved with your local food bank is massively helpful during this time. Graduating seniors that are graduating into a time where finding a job is so challenging. Right?
Some of them are going to be living with their mom and dads because they don't have a job, or just
Totally.
That was a huge thing you did, by the way. And for people who are watching and don't know what he's talking about, you offered yourself up to a few folks who are graduating to give them some advice. You're giving them your time.
I said I was going to do six sessions with 6 different people, and I've already done 15. So I'm way over. I've had over 50 people reach out. So I'm doing group settings and things like that. And, that was one way that, even selfishly, I just wanted to feel better about where I was at, and helping others is one way to make me feel better too. I hope that I'm providing them value. I'm hoping that I'm providing them career guidance. But at the same time, like, being able to come up with creative ways for people to get in front of, businesses that are looking to hire folks still, or businesses that people really want. Some of these people I talked to, like, they had their dream job lined up, and because of this, it got snatched away from them. And so trying to help them think about new ways to find new opportunities. It's very fulfilling for me, but also I think it'll provide a bunch of value for them. So I think when you can do that, and giving to others, you feel better about the situation too. So
You mentioned value a lot, and then before all of this even happened, and that's something that I know you really believe strongly in giving people more than what they paid for, right? And you giving them more than what they've even expect of you, right? And that's a great thing to do, no matter who you are. You mentioned hunger is a big issue that you were looking at. You're talking about, seniors and their prospect. Would you have still done what you do if you knew that the world was going to turn this way? 5 years ago, when you and Jake started this company, if you knew that the world was going to become this, and we were going to be living in this scenario, would you have still started a digital marketing agency, or would you have done something different?
So it's funny because somebody just recently asked me a very similar question about would I've changed anything in my career, or made any different changes. What's challenging about me for that question is that I am someone that completely lives in the future. It is so hard for me to think about the past. And it's so hard, in fact, that I have a very terrible memory. And my wife certainly reminds me of that. I have a very bad memory, because it's hard for me to think about the past. So I guess the most direct answer is yes. I wouldn't have changed anything. I would absolutely have done exactly what I did 5.5 years ago, and starting Digital Hyve and creating this company. But I think to get to the spirit of your question, I think that yeah, I mean, right now there's digital marketing is providing a huge is giving is the solve to so many people's problems, right? I know a lot of companies that relied on door knocking and going house to house to try and generate revenue. That is no longer really an option, right? To do that. I know people that relied on other ways to communicate to their folks. Social media has grown 44% since quarantine started, and these people are obviously utilizing the internet, online platforms, social media platforms more to stay connected, to get information, to stay connected with their friends and family.
Yeah.
And so leveraging that technology is a great way to get your message out as a business. And so we're actually well positioned in this economy to help people, as well as our team. I mean, as you know, we had before even quarantine happened, we let all of our employees have at least one day a week that they could work from home. So we had the technology, we had the processes set up. And while it was a shock to the system to have everyone all at once doing it, right?
Yeah.
That was not something we had ever done. It wasn't that big of a learning curve because we've done that, for our staff prior. So I think that, overall, we are so much more fortunate than many other businesses going through the same pandemic. And I always try to remind myself of that, is that we have unique advantages in the way that our business was built. And I can claim no genius behind that. That was not like, if a pandemic ever hits, we're going to be in a great spot. Which I can't say that. But I will say that we are in a good position to ride this thing out and come out in a good place at the end.
You make your own luck, I think, in life. And yeah, you could say, I got lucky, but a lot of it is the choices you make and, the investment you make in your future. And in this case, the future, everyone's future around you, because you're thinking about your employees and you're thinking about, you're thinking about them too, which is like so pressure, right? What's one thing people don't know about Jeff Knaus?
I don't know, man. I'm pretty open about myself. There, when I was younger, Norma, when you and I met, I know that you knew that I was like a skateboarder and all that stuff,
You were
but
a skater boy, and that's what we called you. We're like
right,
skater boy Jeff. That's what we thought of you.
that's right. And so I was very much, you know, with my friends, I was very
Hair
open.
was like this. Like you had like hair like
Yeah,
this.
my hair was probably this length, but it was down in front of my eyes. So
Yeah, it
that's
was.
that. That look. Man, my hair. I need a haircut.
We,
Actually,
we're,
you know
gonna,
what?
we're gonna talk about that hair in a second, but get back
Yeah,
to what
that's
you were
fine.
saying
It's
about
good.
skater boy. Well, we're gonna
It's a
talk
cool.
about that hair.
It's all right. I'm good with it. Yeah. So there wasn't much that I didn't, you know, there in the beginning. Sorry, in the beginning, I was very much more reserved and didn't share kind of my real, you know, hobbies like skateboarding and punk music and some of these things that are a little bit more. I don't know, not accepted in a professional environment. But I think the landscape has changed, you know, in terms of acceptance of different backgrounds and culture. I think tech company has allowed for people to wear hoodies in a business meeting, and things like that. But I've also found that over my time in my career, the more authentic you are and the more genuine you are about who you are as a person, people just tend to accept you more. I mean, people tend to even, I would say even like you more, because I think it's refreshing to meet people that can't help but be themselves, you know. And we have a lot of those types of people at Digital Hive where you meet them and you're like, gosh, you are so unique. You are such a, you know, a breath of fresh air. You can't help but be funny or different or crazy. And I think even in a professional environment, there was a need for that to kind of come out in people. And so I don't know that there's anything that people don't know about me. Probably the weirder things are that I'm really into animation, aka cartoons. Like I love cartoons. And, I love Bob's Burgers and Rick and Morty and those types of shows. Um, I love, you know, I love skateboarding. I whenever I can. I don't really have much time. I don't make as much time as I used to for it, but I like to play video games. So I'm basically a 12-year-old still. Is
Well,
the reality.
I think that's why we get along so well because I have the sense of humor of a 12-year-old boy. So I think that's why we get along really well. And I love to tell people the story about how we met because I instantly was drawn to you and drawn to your sense of humor. Like the first time we met, I was like, you know, you were what? I don't know. Well, let's not get into numbers, but let's just say you were younger than me. You are younger than me. I was like, you know, the news lady down the hall from the sales department. And then I met you and I was like, oh, this skater boy and we gonna be friends. Like I like this boy. I like him. And I like him so much. I want him to meet my sister. I want him to meet my husband. I want to like just be like, you're my skater boy. Like you're my friend, you know? And then that became a really cool thing because you were so yourself. And I think that's what I think people appreciate. And that kind of, and it is a breath of fresh air, right? All right. Man bun or no man bun?
I
You've
mean,
got the hair.
you know, I'm accepting of all hairstyles.
Talk about for you.
Oh, never for me. This
Okay.
this thing will never be bunned out. This is
Take
very
it,
much
take it and put it in a little.
like a mohawk.
I know your daughter has put your hair in a little ponytail
Oh,
holder.
100%, 100%. No, you know, it's long enough. I could probably at least like kind of do it. It is not a good look.
Cornrow that hair. I could give you some cornrow, straight up cornrow.
Also, that probably not the best look. Probably not. I, but I'm willing to try anything once. You know, there's a lot to do with this hair. My hair grows very, very fast and it gets very thick. And so like if there was a time where I would like fluff it up and it would just be this thing. I'm not a man bun guy. There's just no way I could pull it off. There's just no way that people would look at me and not think that I was like trying to be a 15, 20 samurai dude, Asian dude.
Okay, real quick. There was one time that you had a sandwich that was in your car, and now I want you to tell everybody that story
Wow.
because I
Wow.
first of all, when I first met Jeff, you drove an old Buick, right? Was it an old Buick?
Yes. Yes. I think it was a 1987 or 1985 Buick LeSabre.
Was it
This was
brown?
no, this was in 2008.
Yeah.
87 or an 85, I can't remember, but it was such a it was a baller car, I will say that. It had you know, the interior where there's the drape, there's like the I don't know what we call it, like the upholstery on
Yeah.
top of the roof. You know, it was like red. It was like this red upholstery, and it was falling down. I don't know who I bought it from, but it's like some used car place. It was falling down, and I had the because it was like touching my head when I drove. So I took a staple gun and I stapled it up. So that was how cool that car was. Uh,
I remember that car.
and so yeah, so I there was a period of, I would say, at least 8 months where there was this weird smell in my car. And my wife, at the time she was my my girlfriend, so I'm shocked that we're still together based on the car and the smell. But for a good solid, I would say, 8 months, there was this weird smell. Every time we'd get in there, it would be like, what is that smell? And we just thought it was an old car. We're like, an old car smell, you know, but it was bad, and we just dealt with it. And then one particularly very hot day, we were like, okay, this is enough. I cannot deal with this smell. And so we just started like searching around the car, and had to always would blame me. But then come to find out, we were digging underneath her seat, her passenger seat, and we pull out a little baggie. And in the baggie is the moldiest bread, cheese, ham sandwich.
Oh,
And it was, I mean, it was blue and green, just mush.
funky.
Well,
That is funky.
it was so gross.
Oh,
It made such a smell that I genuinely was like, I think we have to burn this. I think we just have to like burn the car. I think I have to put a gasoline can in the car, light it on fire, because there's no coming back from this.
light it up. Oh my God, seriously, that story, you brought me life for so long because I was like, I do remember that thing that was like it was like the thing over your head was just like touching your head at one point.
It was nasty.
You are a funny man, Jeff. Is there something that, like, if someone's watching this for the first time or just catching on to this, right, or just checking this out and saying, oh, I wonder what this talk is all about, like, what would be the biggest thing you want people to take away from this time? Because we know that New York is opening up. There's different, sectors and different phases, right? What's the one thing that you've taken away from this whole experience that you hope that others share, in the same thought of, like, we're going to look back on this one day, right? We're going to look back. No regrets. We don't want to have regrets. So what do you really want to get out of all of this whole experience, and other people to do as well?
I think there's two things that that I've been thinking a lot about, and trying to put myself in a position of a year from now or 5 years from now, thinking back in this time, and like, to your point, to make sure that I don't regret anything. And there's really 2 points for me. One of them is that I hope, I hope that we don't have to experience this exact scenario again, where we're all forced to kind of be quarantined and things like that. But what I will say is that I want to make sure that I'm taking full advantage of it, because in the same breath, we may never have this opportunity again I'm sitting on my porch right now. My kids are right inside. I can see them through the window. My son's birthday is Thursday, and I know that I'm going to spend a little extra time with him that day because I'll be home. There's just never going to be, I don't think, and I don't hope, I really don't, that there will be a time like this where we're forced to be at home and to slow down and to take advantage of the things that we have at home. So for myself, I can speak for myself in saying that I've really enjoyed this time. I've really enjoyed being out to just, have my lunch with my family. That's been very meaningful for me, because my kids are young and they still love seeing dad and they want to hang out. And I know that I'll look back in 20 years and be like, gosh, I missed that time. I missed the time that my kids wanted to be around me. And so I'm trying to really soak that piece up. And I want people to, as challenging as it can be, trying to teach our kids without school and have a little bit of quiet time when we're doing this kind of thing. And I know, Norma, you certainly can empathize having 2 young kids yourself at home. It's hard. It's challenging in the moment. It feels sometimes it feels like an unclimbable mountain to try to balance work and family life. But I think that as long as we all understand that we're in a weird time, we give each other slack, we try to lead with empathy, then I think we'll be in a good spot. And I think that, there will be an element of this time that we'll miss. So I want to convey that. I think it's an important piece that I hope isn't lost on people, that we'll miss this time. And the other thing is that there's opportunity right now. There's opportunity in business. There's opportunity for yourself to improve, the things you've wanted to improve. And, it's a strange time that we all have a little bit more of time to reflect and figure out who we want to be and to become. So I think that taking the time to think through opportunities in that way, I think is important. And I'm me personally, I'm fully trying to take advantage of various opportunities that I see that maybe won't come around again. So,
well, this was great. And, I don't know, these questions are just things that I was kind of like thinking of that I really wanted to ask you. So thank you for answering them so honestly, and that's all I have. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you really want people to know about you and about the Hyve? And well, first of all, the Hyve, people say all the time, what's the Hyve? Is that like a beehive? What does that mean? What is that?
yeah, Digital Hyve, Hyve, was born out of me trying to get brownie points for my wife, because it is a Finnish word. She is from Finland, and I wanted to build a Finnish word into the name of the business. And then when Jake and I really started to dive into our values, one of the main reasons that we started Digital Hyve was that we found in the digital marketing space specifically, there were a lot of people claiming that they did digital marketing and they could help grow your business. And what the problem was that there was so little education about what digital marketing was, how it can help your business. There's very little transparency in digital marketing. So we really wanted to lead and build a company where people didn't feel like they were being taken advantage of, that we were leading with honesty and transparency. And so we were trying to think of words that really encompassed, that main tenet of taking care of people and doing the right thing. And the word we landed on was value. And in Finnish, the word value in English is Hyve, Hyve. So Digital Hyve was really born out of Hyve, which is virtue, and wanting to get brownie points for my wife. So that's how Hyve came to be. I've never minded the association to Beehive because it's a busy place where people are all working together for one common goal. That's all great, but I'm lying if I said that was even a consideration at the time. I was like, no, this is cool. Like virtue, we want to be a virtuous company, and we wanted to do the right thing for our clients and for our people, for our team that we wanted to build.
Jeff, I got to tell you, I don't know, but that's a 10, man. That's a 10. That story about trying to win your wife over.
I mean, I know how to have a great life, and that is to
happy wife, happy life.
Happy life, domestic bliss.
You know what I'm saying?
A lot of other things in your life. So.
It is a joy to talk to you, my friend. And so the high five is born. Okay, the high five is born.
High five.
High five. Woo!
Yeah.
All right, dude. Talk to you later.
Okay, pal. Thanks.